So the best way to get this information across is to just say it rather than write it. I have been holding back trying to tell everything that I'm doing because I want to get it exactly right. But the true story within all of us is inside of us. So you can reference things, but it's all from realizations from people who have come before you. And when it comes down to it, when you really realize what the body's doing with its environment is, we are one and the same with it, and we are creating it as we go along. So if you want to tell a story, not only do you create it as you tell it, all stories are inside of you. And that's kind of going into what I'm doing right now. Is I've always looked to astrology to help understand my story, understand myself. And then I came to realize, well, that's what my ancestors were doing before me. That's what the creators of this country were doing. You know, the Masonic, the Masons were very much invested in astrology because it's powerful. It's using the planets as place markers to determine your current place in time in the story. Time is cyclical, so if we find markers, we can locate where we are within the story of creation, within the cycle that we're in. So this brings me to the number 12, because the zodiacal system has 12 signs. When you go into sacred geometry, you realize the number 12 is the number that we're structured on. If you look at the flower of life, that has every mathematical equation possible for the current paradigm that we are in. And when you look at the center, you will see that it is broken down into 12, because the circles make a circle with 12 sections within it, which breaks down to the wheel of time, also 12. Then we have the 12 dimensions. We also understand that we have 12 archangels, which helped in the story of creation. There are 12 etheric pyramids on Earth helping keep this matrix that we call reality in place. So 12 is a very important number. Then I noticed that within the zodiac, okay, there's 12 signs. Why don't we use 12 different celestial bodies? For instance, Gemini and Virgo both use Mercury as their planetary ruler, and Taurus and Libra both use Venus. And I find this to be ironic and redundant. And I think that a very good example of how we need to branch out is within our chakra system, because as we wake up, yes, we're very familiar with the 7 chakras within our body, starting from the root, going up to the 7th chakra, which actually isn't even really in the body. It's kind of above the head. And then so if we extrapolate that to 12, we go back to the original 12 chakra system that, if I go back into research, they were using in ancient Atlantis, and their 12 chakras were fully developed. So we need to go back into the 12 chakra system. Therefore, we need 12 celestial bodies that influence these 12 parts of ourselves. So what I've incorporated is Earth, because even though Earth is not a celestial body that we look out to, we consider Earth part of ourselves, and it is so much part of ourselves that we really do need to include it within astrology, because Earth is not just what we see it. There is the hollow Earth, which resides on a different frequency level from which the Earth Star chakra, that energy comes up into us. And that is the original first chakra, not the root. And it is from that chakra where we get our limitations. And this goes back into research that I've done that makes sense to me. I was following Gerald Clark and his study of the Anunnaki. And it's amazing because he's read the Ultra Hasis and the Enuma Elish. And just in reading the ancient texts of Sumeria, you're able to find actual real-life physical proof that these were not just made-up stories. These things actually happened. And the King's List, these people, that's accurate, and these people were living for thousands of years. And if we equate that with what we've heard and Zechariah Sitchin's stories and the appearance of Nibiru and what we have found scientifically, that yes, there's a planet that matches Nibiru's rotational axis around us and around the sun. It is another planet, and so I have added that into our system. I have also added Earth. So now I see Taurus, because Taurus is very earthbound. It's very what I have, what I want, what I need, my basic needs, my basic structure, very earthbound. That would be connecting to your root chakra, the second chakra now, and what really connects you to the earth. Okay, very important, because this ancient civilization and ancient race that came to Earth because their planet was in distress, they came to Earth looking for resources, specifically gold. They had their own miners for gold, the Ajiji miners, who rebelled against them. So they decided, we need to create workers who will not rebel. It says in the Bible that I will create you in my own image and likeness. Well, in the sixth dimension is where archetypal molds and genetic codes reside. The sixth house is also representative of Virgo, which I have re-established the planet of Nibiru to be residing over Virgo, because Virgo is the higher octave of Mercury, and it's these beings who created us, the Anunnaki. They put seals, which are known as Jehovian Anunnaki seals, within the seventh grid line of the earth, and supposedly there are 12, so that we can no longer ascend past our third strand of DNA, three-dimensional. We are stuck in the 3D. This helps us to not be able to ascend, to live a much shorter life, kind of like we're expendable, and to never really figure out and to be able to see past the third dimension, to see that our own powers, our own creational powers, these are all very important, because it was well thought of when the Anunnaki needed new workers to mine their gold. They didn't want us to rebel like the Ajiji did. So within the earth, which I've now shown as Taurus within our own grid, because if you put locks within the grid in earth, our DNA will be locked up because we are connected to the earth, okay? So we have those seals. Now as we're ascending, A lot of people say, well, you have to go to a professional to remove the seals. I think that's horse shit. Why wouldn't you have the power to remove the seals? If you have awareness, then you have the power. Someone else doesn't have power over you to remove seals on your body that are placed there because of the Earth's grid. All you need is awareness, and then you can change the situation. Anyways, I attributed the 6th house in Virgo to Nibiru because the 6th house is all about service and work, correct? And don't we have a very unusual relationship here on Earth to work, service work? Because aren't we all just busy working for the man to make limited resources? So, yes, we're all slaving away for someone else. And yes, we are still ruled by that Anunnaki race, which a lot of people think are reptilians. No, they're not. They're very much humanoids. They just have the capacity for far more consciousness than we do. However, they're locked up because when you reconfigurate the whole system of 12, not only does Virgo fall into the 6th house, but now the heart chakra falls there. So even though they have all this information, and Virgo was originally ruled by Mercury, they need to ascend into the heart. Because the Anunnaki were just like us. There were ones that were benevolent. The story of, I think it's Anki and Enlil. One was evil and one was good, sort of like God and the devil. They have the power of free will to choose how they're going to be, and they definitely have the power to ascend. They tried to stop us from having that power, but as soon as you wake up your heart, everything else starts to wake up too. And isn't it funny? 6, that's the break-off point. 6 chakras inside, 6 chakras outside. But where it really depends, where you have to figure out where you're going to go, stops at the 6th house. Are you going to be mercurial and stuck in the mind matrix? Carbon is made of 6 electrons, 6 neutrons, and 6 protons, 666. We're condensed here. Or are you going to step into the heart where creation happens and you can reconfigure your paradigm? You can understand that service to self doesn't mean going out to find people to serve you. It means you work internally on yourself to ascend, and then you help your fellow man because you are the best possible person you could be, and that helps everyone ascend, just like the earth. If the seals are off the earth, you are free because our DNA is connected directly to that earth. Our DNA is connected to each other because once you come out of this illusion, once you finally get to the 12th dimension, the all of all, you'll realize that we all came from the same ether and we really are all attached. So service to self is actually the best thing you can do. They try to say service to self is evil. There's a lot of that tied up in religion. You must worship these gods. And some of them pretended to be gods. They weren't even gods. They were just aliens, Anunnaki beings, looking for your service to them. And service to self is such a dirty word. Yet, if it's internal service to self, self-work, you help all of humanity. I think it's ironic that the 6th house in Virgo is also in charge of small animals. You know, it's work, it's daily routine, small animals. Well, we are humans here in the 6th house and with small minds because we haven't expanded our mind into our heart to work synergistically, to break the seals and to be able to see past the illusion of what's been put in our line of vision without our knowing. we've had to figure it out for ourselves, and it's taken eons. And isn't it funny that the house that's directly opposite from the 6th house is the 12th house, which is the highest dimension, the last cycle of life, the cycle where you are closest back to source, back to God. But it is the 6th house of your daily routine. It's within your daily routine, your daily actions. That's how you're going to figure out how to get there. The path to salvation within your own self is figuring out where the ultimate power lies. And it's always been within you, within your daily routine. You have to find the anomalies, the synchronicities, show you that you are actually the one in the driver's seat. Once you pick up on this, you can expand on it, and that energy comes from the heart.